Good day everyone. I'm Christian Raven Roma, electronics engineering student, second year college. So my topic is about ceramics and I chose pottery. So what is pottery? Pottery is the process and the products of forming vessels and other objects with clay and other ceramic materials which are fired at high temperature to give them a hard, durable form. Major types include earthenware, stoneware, and porcelain. The definition of pottery used by the American Society for Testing and Materials or ASTM is all fired ceramic wares that contain clay when formed, except technical, structural, and refractory. Pottery is one of the oldest human inventions originating before the Neolithic period, with ceramic objects like the Graftian culture Venus of Doini Vestoins figurine discovered in the Czech Republic dating back to 29,000 to 25,000 BC, and pottery vessels that were discovered in Jiangxi, Thailand, China, which date back to 18,000 BC. Pottery is made by forming a ceramic body into objects of a desired shape and heating them to high temperature in a bonfire, pit, or kiln, and induces reactions that lead to permanent changes, including increasing the strength and rigidity of the object. Much pottery is purely utilitarian, but much can also be regarded as ceramic art. A clay body can be decorated before or after fire. The earliest forms of pottery were made from that were fired at low temperatures, initially in pit fires or in open bonfires. They were hand-formed and undecorated. Earthenware can fired as low as 600 degrees Celsius and is normally fired below 1200 degrees Celsius. Because unglazed biscuit earthenware is porous, it is limited utility for the storage of liquids or as tableware. However, earthenware has had a continuous history from the Neolithic period to today. It can be made from a wide variety of clays, some of which fire to a buff, brown, or black color with iron in the consistent minerals. Next is stoneware. Stoneware is pottery that has been fired in a kiln at a relatively high temperature, from about 1100 degrees Celsius to 1200 degrees Celsius, and is stronger and non-porous to liquids. The Chinese, who developed stoneware very early on, classified this together with porcelain as high-fired wares. In contrast, stoneware could only be produced in Europe from the late Middle Ages, as European kilns were less efficient and the right type of a clay less common. It remained a specialty of Germany until the Renaissance. Next is porcelain. Porcelain is made by heating materials generally including in to temperatures between 1200 and 1400 degrees Celsius. This is higher than used for the other types, and achieving these temperatures was a long struggle, as well as realizing what materials were needed. The toughness, strength, and translucence of porcelain relative to other types of pottery arises mainly of vitrification and the formation of the mineral multiple within the body at these high temperatures. Although porcelain was first made in China, the Chinese traditionally do not recognize it as a distinct category, grouping it with stoneware as high-fired ware opposed to low-fired earthenware. This confuses the issue of when it was first made. A degree of translucency and whiteness was achieved by the Tang Dynasty, and considerable quantities were being exported. The modern level of whiteness was not reached until much later. In the 14th century, porcelain was also made in Korea and in Japan from the end of 16th century. After suitable kaolin was located in those countries, it was not made effectively outside East Asia until 18th century. This type of clay is kaolin. Kaolin is sometimes referred to as a China clay because it was first used in China, used for porcelain. Second, ball clay, an extremely plastic, fine-grained sedimentary clay, which may contain some organic matter. Small amounts can be added to porcelain bodies to increase plasticity. The third is far clay, a clay having a slightly lower percentage of fluxes than kaolin, but usually quite plastic. It is a high heat resistant form of clay which can be combined with other clays to increase the firing temperature and may be used as ingredient to make stoneware types bodies. The fourth is stoneware clay, suitable for creating stoneware, has many of the characteristics between fire clay and ball clay, having finer grain like ball clay but is more heat resistant like fire clays. The fifth clay is common red clay and shale clay, have vegetable and ferric oxide impurities which make them useful for bricks but a generally unsatisfactory for pottery except under special condition of a particular deposit. And the last clay is bentonite, an extremely plastic clay which can added in small quantities to short clay to increase the plasticity. So here are the methods of shaping. The first is hand building. This is the earliest forming method. Wares can be constructed by hand forms. Wares can be constructed by hand from coils of clays, combining flat slabs of clay or pinching solid balls of clay or some combination of these. Parts of hand-built vessels are often joined together with aid of slip, an aqueous suspension of clay body and water. A clay body can be decorated before or after firing. Prior to some shaping process, clay must be prepared, such as tablewares, although some studio potters find hand building more conductive to create one-of-the-kind works of art. Next is the, the pottery wheel. In a process called drawing, a ball of clay is placed in the center of the turnable called the wheel head, which the potter rotates with a stick with foot power or a variable speed electric motor. Next is ram pressing. This is used to shape ware by pressing a bat of prepared clay body into a required shape between two porous molding plates. After pressing, compressed air is blown through the porous mold plates to release the shape wares. Next is slip casting. This is suited to the making of shapes that cannot be formed by other methods. Liquid slip made by mixing clay body with water is poured into a highly absorbent plaster mold. Water from the slip is absorbed into the mold, leaving a layer of clay body covering its internal surfaces and taking its internal shape. Excess slip is poured out of the mold, which is then split open and the molded object removed. Slip casting is widely used in the production of sanitary ware and is also used for making other complex shape ware such as teapots and figurines. And the last is 3D printing. This is the latest advance in forming ceramic objects. There are two methods. One involves the layered deposition of soft clay similar to FDM printing. The other and powder binding techniques where dry clay powders is fused together layer upon layer with a liquid. And this is the decoration of clay. First is painting. Painting has been used since clay prehistoric times and can be very elaborate. The painting is often applied to pottery that has been fired once and may then be overlaid with a glaze afterwards. Second is glaze, perhaps the most common form of decoration that also serves as protection to the pottery by being tougher and keeping liquid from penetrating the pottery. The third is carving. Pottery vessels may be decorated by shallow carving of the clay body, typically with a knife or similar instrument used on the wheel. This is common in Chinese porcelain of the classic periods. The fourth is burnishing. The surface of pottery wares may be burnished prior to firing by rubbing with a suitable instrument of wood, steel, or stone to produce a polished finish that survives firing. It is possible to produce very highly polished wares when fine clays are used or when the polishing is carried out on wares that have been partially dried. Next is terra sigillata. Terra sigillata is an ancient form of decorating ceramics that was first developed in ancient Greece. Next, banding. Banding is the application by hand or by machine or a band of color to the edge of plate or cup, also known as lining. The operation is often carried out on a potter's wheel. So that's all. This is the topic that assigned to me, ceramics. Thank you for watching.